Hey there, my name is Margaret Ann Stocks, and this is my presentation for EDEC7110 with Dr. Bob Capuzzo. The book that I chose to study for this was You Can't Say, You Can't Play by Vivian Paley. She wrote this in 1992. Let's dive in. So I'm going to talk a little bit about who Vivian Paley was. She was a kindergarten teacher, and she was really passionate about early childhood education and early childhood psychology. So she taught in a few other places, like in New Orleans, but she primarily taught at the University of Chicago Laboratory Schools. And this is also where she got most of her data to write these books and most of her anecdotes that she chooses. She wrote several books, and all of her books focus on a theme. Often these themes include multicultural or socioeconomically diverse students, because that's primarily who she worked with at the University of Chicago. And she really was a visionary. The way that she thought about teaching early childhood education was really appealing to students' fantasy side and telling stories to get them interested in whatever we wanted to get them interested in. So this is the quote that I chose to include. It was right at the beginning of the book, but it really struck my interest as far as, getting started in this book and reading it. Being told you can't play is a serious matter. It hurts more than anything else that happens in school, and distractions no longer work very well. Everyone knows the sound of rejection. You can't play. Don't sit by me. Stop following us. I don't want you for a partner. Go away. These would be unforgivable insults if spoken at a faculty meeting, but our responses are uncertain in the classroom. And so I really liked this quote because I think the part where she talks about this would be unforgivable if we spoke this as adults at a faculty meeting. And I think that really has to do with how in today's world we have a lot of exclusion going on, which is the theme of you can't say, you can't play. We have a lot of racial exclusion, and I think we're a little bit more covert than kindergartners are. We don't tell them they can't sit by us, but we systematically enforce that. And so I think that was a really interesting way to put it. So a summary about You Can't Say, You Can't Play. So basically this is Vivian's story about when she was a kindergarten teacher at the University of Chicago, and she notices how her students are excluding certain children. She hates this, and she wants to figure out a way that she can curb this habit in her students, so she wants to help them unlearn it. And the way she does this is by imposing the rule, which is the title of this book: you can't say, you can't play. And you can't say, you can't play, and you can't say any variation of that excludes somebody and makes them feel like they can't be a part of what you're doing. And so that was the goal of this book. And so this is a pretty complex idea because it seems simple, you can't say, you can't play, but that really it's a habit that she's noticed in her students, so it's something they really have to work hard to unlearn. And again, this is very pervasive in today's world. So it's kind of a complex ideal to explain to a bunch of 5-year-olds. So the way she does this was she wrote a narrative starring a magpie named Magpie, and there's lots of other characters, and they're animals, and they have powers, and it's very, very appealing. And this is where you can see her passion for children's fantasy worlds, and really trying to work in lessons and morals into appealing to students' fantasy. So she goes through this whole story and has this whole account of this experiment with her kids, and at the end it was really successful. These 5-year-olds really had an understanding and were able to break their habits of being excluding their friends in their classroom. And again, this is a pretty complex and moral social issue, so I thought it was really cool that she was able to do this. So overall, I loved this text. I thought it was really interesting, and I thought her approach to teaching her children was really, really inspiring. She was not patronizing, and I think often we have a habit as educators of patronizing our small children when we're trying to teach them lessons. And she wasn't. She was not aggressive, and she really worked with these kids and appealed to their passions instead of being condescending. Additionally, it was really inquisitive. It was an experiment, and I love that she was willing to take a risk and try this, and she didn't know how it was going to work out, which I think is really inspiring as a young teacher. So that was my presentation. Thank you very much.